Caceres has been settled since prehistoric Paleolithic times, time of dolmen, standing stones. The old town of Caceres is delimited into great zones by the wall, intramuros, inside the wall, and extramuros, outside of the wall. The enclosures intramuros is what is usually known as the monumental city, or the old part, and is the best known, while the area outside the walls is less well known. The whole old town, since the Middle Ages, is divided into 4 parishes, around which the structure of the city was configured. The 4 parishes are Santa Maria, San Mateo, Santiago and San Juan, with the first 2 intramuros and the last 2 outside the walls. The old Jewish
Las lavanderas de Caceres, todas contentas están.
quarter, the Arco de Cristo, is the eastern gate of the old wall of Caceres. It conserves Roman ashlars, and in the antiquity was the door of the thistle of the colony, Norba Caesarina. Caceres came to have 2 Jewish neighbourhoods, the old Juderia in the enclosure intramuros and the Jewish quarter in the area outside the walls. The old Jewish quarter is also known as the neighbourhood of San Antonio de la Quebrada. The old Jewish part of Caceres preserves the layout and organisation of the typical streets of the Islamic and Jewish period. These are narrow streets and on slopes with small squares connecting to each other, and with streets in bottom of sack. That means the streets without exit, a cul-de-sac. The houses are small, 1 to 2 floors, mostly white and decorated, some of them with flowers such as geraniums among them, which gives a great typismo to the neighbourhood. It is conformed by the streets of San Antonio, Callejón del Moral, Rincón de la Monja, and Cuesta del Marqués. The main building in the centre of the old Jewish quarter is the Ermita de San Antonio, built on the old synagogue. An interesting house. It is the house of the rich Jew, popularly known for presenting a stone facade instead of being covered with lime. It was typical of humble Jewish houses, money being invested in business where it could. In the same Jewish quarter, through one of its houses, it's possible to access the Baluart de los Pozos. It's a section of wall between 2 towers, the Tower of the Wells, or the Gypsy, and the Tower Correja, or Aljibis. It was a key point to guarantee access to the Ribera water. Water is and always has been the lifeblood of this dry region. Also, in the Jewry itself, near the Pizarro Gate, you will find access to the Olivar de la Juderia, which consists of a space, like a garden or park, located at the foot of the wall. If you continue on Rincón de la Monja, the street takes you to a junction of the street with Cuesta de la Marqués. There are 2 buildings to highlight here. One of them is the house of Duran de la Roca, and the other the Arab Museum House. When descending the Cuesta del Marqués, you arrive at the lowest point, and the most easterly point of the monumental city of Caceres. Here, Arco de Cristo, Puerta de Rio, the council, the only door of Roman origin that has persisted in the city. There's the round tower, and after crossing the arch there's the river tower. When the intramuros enclosure could not accommodate more buildings, it was decided to build outside the walls around 3 fundamental spaces, the Plaza Mayor and the 2 parishes Santiago and San Juan. These constitute the Jewish quarter outside the walls. Plaza Mayor is constituted as the centre of the historic quarter and gateway to the monumental city. It emerged as a large space for markets outside the walls. It's dominated in its east by the frontal formed by the Tower of Bujarco, the Hermitage of the Peace and the Ark of the Star. You can also see the Tower of the Pulpits and the Tower of the Yerba. To the south of the town hall, built at the end of the 1800s, the rest of the Plaza Mayor is formed by arcades that have their origin in the 16th century, 1500s, although the buildings built on them are of very different epochs. The portals housed different guilds, such as the Pan portal, the portal of the Plateros, the portal of the Scribes, the portal of the Apothecaries, and the portal of the Watchers, among others. The rest of the guilds and the city settled in streets near the Plaza Mayor, such as the well-known and commercial Calle Pintores, and others such as Panceras, Hornos, Hornillos, Zapateria, Galeros, Tenerias, Riviera de Curtidores, boilers and shops. Surrounding Plaza Mayor, there are two medieval parishes, Santiago and San Juan. There are new spaces created together with the Plaza Mayor in an urban structure of the enclosure outside the walls. Four other areas intramuros inside the walls: Santa Maria, San Jorge, San Mateo, and the Altar of the Star we'll look at now. For me, as an architect, walking down Caceres tight little streets is strange because they're all stone, not white rendered in lime, and also because of the Santa Maria quarter. It's fascinating because it's unique in terms of positive and negative space that I've encountered, but communicates a sense of disquiet because of the defensive cooperation of two different communities that it communicates, or perhaps two different feuding clans that have disparate empires but have to make a peace to coexist in the same city. A square suggests a neighbourhood. Two squares joined together by a construction with only one way into each. It just screams eternal conflict. Santa Maria Quarter is formed of the union of two squares. Two squares don't make a quarter. Perhaps I'm just thinking of architectural town planning as just post-Renaissance, like Italy. A square making a quarter. Perhaps I should expand my architectural mind in order to get into Iberian medieval vernacular. The two interjoining squares of Plaza de Santa Maria and the Plaza de Los Golfins. It's presided over by the Holy Church Cathedral of Santa Maria la Mayor around pretty much the whole of the two squares, with windows, and occasional at that, 12 metres up in the tower. You'd say these defensive noble houses delimit the square. Perhaps all the richest people wanted to be in the most defensible space, where only a cart width could come through and you didn't need a whole army to defend it. Adjacent to the apse of the Concatedral is the Palacio de Cavajal, to say it with the English, not Spanish, J, which has the tourist board on its interior, patio and garden. At the end of the Calle Tiendas, it's possible to see the Torre de Espaderos. Torre is tower, obviously. In the Santa Maria, half of this unique space is the Palacio de Hernando de Ovando and the Episcopal Palace, after which, in the second half, the Palazzo de Conde de Canilleros. In the other half, through the Wagon Gap, the Toledo Moctezuma Palace, headquarters of the Provincial Historical Archives, so limited access. Continue on to the Plaza de Santa Maria, you can still see the Mayoralgo Palace, the House of Moraga, province centre of the crafts, the House of Golfin Toledo, or Dukes of Valencia, the Palace of Diputación, the Palace of Fomento, and the more magnificent Palace of Golfin de Abajo, which served as accommodation for the Catholic monarchs during their stays in Caceres. You have to remember, while it's slightly creepy on the streets, Muslim buildings always open out into a courtyard with very little display of fenestration onto the streets. A lot of names to take in, and you don't have to know them to walk around the city and take in the atmosphere and the ambience. But Saint Georges is another quarter. The Plaza de Saint Georges is the centre of the walled enclosure. It's characterised by three buildings. It's dominated by the Church of San Francisco Javier, or Church of the Precious Blood, in whose crypt is the interpretation centre of the Holy Week of Caceres, and allows access to the largest cistern of Caceres, an 18th century cistern. Water is very important. It's the lifeblood of this dry region. How much did water cost to a poor person in the Middle Ages? A drink of water is a blessing. Adjacent is the College of the Company of Jesus. This Baroque set that presides the square is accompanied to the right by the House of the Becerra, that has a corporate use now, much as it did back in the day. To the left, behind some shops selling souvenirs and handicrafts, is the garden of the Cristina de Ulloa. Ulloa, a more Spanish pronunciation, an open space within the set formed by these three buildings of the Plaza de Saint-Georges, dedicated to the patron saint of the city. It's difficult to describe these medieval spaces. A set of buildings, a dual square, not bijou jewellery. There's nothing ornamented about any of the city, really. Another quarter of the city, the San Mateo quarter, smaller than Santa Maria, is made up of three squares: Plaza de San Mateo, Plaza de San Pablo, and the Plaza de las Valetas. This site is presided over by the Church of San Mateo, built on an old mosque, next to the convent of San Pablo. Among the civil buildings, the most outstanding is the Palace of Caceres, Ovando, or Palace of the Storks. Those big birds with the 2 to 3 metre nests that either for a migration season or for life are monogamous. This is the headquarters of the military government now, so limited access. The Plaza Valentas area of San Mateo has the Palace of Valentas, naturally enough, archaeology and ethnography now, a museum of Caceres, a magnificent Almohad al-Andalus cistern. Water was so important in this dry region. The oldest cistern in the city, the House of the Horses. This is a fine art museum now. Immediately behind the Church of San Mateo, there's a small square in which there are three beautiful buildings that form a harmonious whole. The whole House of the Sun, the House of the Eagle, and the Tower of the Sunday. The city isn't all in and out walking of the squares. Returning to the Plaza de San Mateo, it's possible to see the impressive Palace of Golfin de Arriba. You can descend through the Calle Ancha and admire the set of buildings that delineate and flank this street. The house of Lorenzo Oloya, a school of fine arts now. Nearby the house of Diego Oloya, the Rico. Then the house of Walls Saavedra, the palace of the commander, the Marquess of Torregas. That's now the Parador de Turismo de Caceres. When you get to the Casa de los Sánchez Paredes, you can cross Calle Ancha and find Puerta de Merida. At this level, it's possible to see the Hospital of the Caballeros to the right. While you turn left, you can appreciate the House of the Ferriers, which is a college building now. I suppose it's tempting to say that Adave of the Star is a more Christian quarter of the ancient town. Down Calle Condes off Plaza de San Mateo, you'll reach the area of Adaves. Adaves are the streets adjacent to the wall, which are also known as the Round Road. Caceres has 5 streets that retain the name Adaves: Father Rossellino, Santa Ana, Estrella, Bishop Alvarez de Castro and Christ. Adaves is a street, sloping, with narrows and a pavement of small songs. Here, Arco de Santa Ana and Puerto de Postillo should be appreciated. Postillo, the Tower of the Ved, and the Tower of Santa Ana. In a small square in the front of the Arch of Santa Ana is the Palace of the Comte Adenero. The Andaves descend from here. On the left is the entrance to the Casa Miron, the municipal museum headquarters here. Down further on the right is the Plaza de los Toreros, which is formed out of 2 buildings off the Aldaves, facing each other: the Palacio General and the Palace of Ribera, admin buildings of the University of Extremadura now. You might be getting the idea that Caceres is maintained by being a inaccessible headquarters of different government and corporate stuff. Or authorities, just as it always was. There is, though, a small door off the front of Plaza de Caldereros that leads to a few stairs that descend to the Forum of the Balbos, flanked by the Tower of the Furnace and the Tower of the Yerba. You can see from here the Town Hall and the Plaza Mayor. Right down the bottom of the Adaves, you can get back to Santa Maria at the height of the House of the Moraga. You might miss the passage through the area of streets, alleys of the monumental city, which is of great charm. Here in the House of Moraga begins an axis formed by the streets of Cuesta de la Aldana and Almos. A straight line, narrow and tortuous. Here you can find such important buildings as the Mono House, the Casa del Aldana, the Mujda House, the Casa de Alvano Parero, and the San Antonio Nursery. You come out at a small square where the nursery of San Antonio is located, ends at the union of the Calle Puerta de Merida and the Aldave of Father Rossellino. Being able to appreciate the Hospital of the Magdalena. Hospital of the Magdalena, Christian district, but not as we know it. Caceres is unique. So many cultures keeping themselves to themselves, interacting, defensively coexisting in a sort of utopian harmony.